They always say you're just being paranoid, that it's all in your head, that you're overthinking things. But paranoia has one job: to keep you alive. And I ignored mine for too long. My name's Michael. I'm 31, originally from Virginia. I've been working in IT for about 6 years. Nothing flashy, but I love what I do. I have a very small circle of friends. I mostly keep to myself. I mind my own business. Easygoing guy. I enjoy the simple things in life. I'm not famous. I don't even post on social media that much, which is why it made no sense when I found a GPS tracker hidden under my car. Let me back up. It started about 3 months ago. I began noticing the same black 7 Series BMW parked across from my apartment. It wasn't a neighbor's car. I knew that much. I'd lived there long enough to know who was who. And yet, there it was. Every night. Same spot. Same scratches along the passenger side. At first, I wrote it off. Coincidence? Maybe someone visiting a friend. No big deal. Then I saw it outside my job. Same car, same spot in the far corner of the parking lot. I walked past it and glanced inside. No one. Dark tinted windows. Engine cold. My gut tightened, but I shook it off again. Paranoia, right? A week later, it got worse. I started getting phone calls. Blocked numbers, never a voice, just silence. And once, just once, I heard a faint exhale on the other end. It was barely audible, just long, slow breathing. I hung up. That night, I changed every password I had, installed antivirus software, made my social media profiles private. But I still felt like I was being watched. Then came the night I found it. I'd just gotten off work. It was late. I grabbed drive-thru, parked in my spot at the apartment complex, and walked toward my front door. That's when I saw it. Something glinting under my rear bumper. I crouched down and reached under. It was a small black box. Cold. With a blinking red light. Magnetized. Clamped onto the metal frame. I froze. My hand was shaking. It was a tracking device. A real one. Just like the ones they use in spy movies. I don't know how long I stood there. But eventually, I ripped it off and brought it inside. I sat on my kitchen floor, holding it in my palm like it was a live grenade. I reported it to the police the next morning. They barely looked at it. "Not much we can do," the officer said. "Could be a prank, could be an ex-girlfriend, might have fallen off another vehicle." Fallen off? "It's magnetized," I said. "It was attached to my car." He shrugged. "Anyone else drive it?" "Number just me." "Well, unless they do something illegal with it, our hands are kinda tied." They filed a report and sent me home. That night I didn't sleep. I kept hearing footsteps outside my door. I left the lights off and sat in the dark, staring at the window. Around 2 a.m., I heard my doorknob jiggle. Just once. Then silence. I bought a camera the next day and set it up in my living room. It was motion activated. Nothing fancy, but enough. I also parked my car down the street. A new spot, harder to see. That night, I left my apartment and drove to a 24-hour diner. I stayed there for 2 hours. When I got back, the apartment looked untouched. I locked the door, checked the windows, then opened the camera app. What I saw made my skin crawl. At 1:46 a.m., the front door opened. I hadn't given anyone a key. A tall figure stepped inside, hoodie up, face shadowed. They walked slowly into the center of the living room and just stood there, not moving, not speaking, just staring. Then they turned and walked down the hallway, toward my bedroom. Out of the camera's view, I sat frozen, watching the seconds tick by. At 1:53, the figure reappeared. Calm, quiet. They walked to the door, closed it, locked it, and left. I showed the footage to my friend Andrew the next morning. He was stunned. We went frame by frame, trying to get a glimpse of the face. Nothing clear. But then, we noticed something else. In one of the frames, the figure passed by a mirror, just briefly, and in the blur, Andrew paused it. "I've seen this guy before," he whispered. He pulled up an old group photo from a party 2 years ago. Same building, same hoodie, same face. He'd been around me for years. I stopped going home and stayed at Andrew's place. But it didn't matter. 3 days later, a new tracker showed up. This time, under his car. They'd followed me there. I started checking under every vehicle, every day. At one point, I found a second tracker under mine. A backup. They were serious, professional. They knew what they were doing. I reached my breaking point. I decided to bait them. Andrew let me borrow his dad's old pickup truck. No GPS, no connections to me. I drove it out to an abandoned lot behind a gas station. One road in, one way out. I parked, turned off the lights, and hid in the truck bed with a crowbar. Hours passed. At 2:41 a.m., headlights, the black sedan. It pulled up slowly, stopped behind the pickup. The figure stepped out, walked up to the truck, circled it. He leaned in, probably confused. I jumped out, yelling obscenities, swinging. He bolted, but not before he dropped something. A key. My apartment key. I don't remember much after that. Just rage, panic. I changed the locks, deleted every trace of my online life. Within 3 weeks, I moved to a different state. Never stayed in one place too long again. I haven't seen him since. But every night, before I sleep, I still check under my car, just in case. Because I've learned something important. Paranoia is a warning, and ignoring it could get you killed.
10 years ago, my brother vanished. No goodbye, no trace, just gone. We searched everywhere. Police, flyers, news outlets, nothing. We buried him in our hearts. We moved on, until last week, when I saw him, alive, unchanged, living across the street from me. But the thing is, that's not my brother. My brother Brian was the golden one. Funny, kind, fiercely loyal. The kind of brother who'd walk into a fight for you without asking why. He vanished when he was 22. Left for work one morning and never came back. His car was found abandoned off a rural back road. No blood, no signs of a struggle. It was like he stepped out of reality. For years, my mom spiraled. Dad stopped talking. I blame myself. I still don't know why. Maybe because I was the last one who saw him. And then, we just stopped talking about him. It hurt too much. Last month, I moved to a quiet neighborhood on the edge of town. I wanted silence, a new start. The house across from me was nice. Windows always shut, lights off most nights. No one ever outside. But one morning, while getting the mail, I saw someone standing behind the curtain, just a silhouette. But there was something about it, his shape, his posture. It looked like Brian. I froze. Told myself I was being crazy. It wasn't possible. But then I saw him again, on the porch. Just for a second. He turned his head. It was him. Same face, same eyes, same scar on his chin from when we were kids. He hadn't aged a day. I ran across the street, heart racing. But by the time I got there, he was gone. No answer when I knocked. Just the creak of the wind. I left a note. Brian? Is it really you? Please talk to me. No reply. That night I stared at his house from my window. At 2:14 a.m., the upstairs light flicked on, and I saw him, standing there, just staring back. No expression, not moving, just watching me. I called the police. I didn't say he was my brother, just said a man I didn't recognize had moved in and was acting strange. They visited, came back and said, that house has been vacant for years. No one's on the lease. Door was locked. No one answered. But I saw him. I see him. I even caught a picture, snapped it through the window when he was backlit, showed it to my mom. She dropped the phone. "That's Brian," she whispered. "What is this? Some kind of sick joke?" I started digging. Found a woman 2 streets down who said she'd seen him too. "He doesn't come out much," she told me, "but he walks sometimes, late, around 3 a.m., never with shoes." I waited. 3 nights in a row, nothing. On the 4th night, I saw him, walking barefoot down the sidewalk. I followed him, quiet, careful. He didn't seem to notice me, or maybe he just didn't care. He walked for almost an hour, through parks, alleys, even behind the cemetery. And then, he stopped at an old, rotted shed. He stood there, faced the door, and whispered something. And the door opened by itself. I waited until he disappeared inside. Then I crept closer. The shed looked abandoned, overgrown, half collapsed. Inside, it was pitch black, but I heard movement, breathing. I lifted my phone flashlight, just a flicker, and what I saw made my stomach drop. The walls were covered in photographs, dozens of them, of me, my house, my car, me sleeping, and Brian, but not just one Brian, multiple copies of his face, different expressions, different clothes. Some didn't look human, mouth too wide, eyes too flat. Then I heard a voice behind me. "You have no business being here." I turned around and he was standing there. Brian, or something wearing his face. I said his name. He didn't respond. "Where have you been?" I asked. "What is this place?" He tilted his head, smiled, and said, "You're remembering wrong." I backed away. He stepped forward. "You're the one who left me," he whispered. "You let them take me." Then his voice changed, lower, echoing. "Now it's your turn." The shed pulsed, like a heartbeat. I ran, didn't stop until I got home. That was 3 days ago. I haven't seen him since. The house across the street? Empty again, no furniture, no signs of life. But the pictures, still on my phone, still real. I showed them to a friend. She looked confused. "There's no one in these," she said. "Just pictures of my house. Empty rooms, blank windows. But I see him, in every single one, watching me." Last night, I heard footsteps in my attic, and this morning, there was a new note on my kitchen table. No handwriting, just one typed line. "Now it's your turn."
When you hear the word cult, you picture robes, chanting, a leader with wild eyes. You don't picture a clean white kitchen or your best friend handing you tea with a smile. You don't picture yourself, but I was in a cult, and I didn't even know it until it was far too late to walk away. It started after I lost my job. I was desperate, broke, depressed, and isolated. That's when Emily reached out. We were casual friends from college. We hadn't talked in years. She said she was part of a wellness collective in the mountains, just 2 hours outside the city. "Come visit," she said. "No stress, just peace." When I arrived, I was stunned. It was beautiful, dozens of acres surrounded by pine forests, small cabins, fresh air, smiling people. They called it the Fold. Everyone wore white, everyone hugged, everyone smiled just a little too long, but after months of loneliness, it felt like home. At first, the rules seemed harmless. No phones after sunset, no contact with outsiders without permission, no leaving the property without a chaperone. Emily said, "We're just trying to remove distractions." And honestly, I liked it. We meditated, cooked together, and did yoga in the forest. They called it alignment. Every day, I felt like I was healing. But then came the sessions. Every night after dinner, we gathered in the circle room. We sat on the floor, no one spoke. Then Thomas, our guide, would enter. and he would stare at us one by one. Silent, judging, we were told to empty ourselves. What? I never understood what that meant, but when I closed my eyes, I felt things, like something watching from inside me. After 3 weeks, I was invited to the ceremony. Emily looked excited. Not everyone gets invited, she whispered. We walked deep into the forest, past the outer cabins, past the trails. They led us to a clearing, massive bonfire in the center. Everyone was there, dressed in white robes now, chanting in low, rhythmic tones. Thomas stood in the middle. He held a bowl. One by one, we stepped forward. He placed his hands on our forehead, said something in a language I didn't recognize, and fed us a sip from the bowl. It burned my throat. It tasted like metal. And then, the forest spun. Voices got louder. The fire pulsed like a beating heart. I saw faces, blinking in and out. Some not human, grinning with too many teeth, shapes riding in the smoke. And then, darkness. I woke up in my cabin, alone. My clothes were soaked, my arms covered in symbols I didn't recognize, drawn in what looked like ash. I stumbled outside. Everyone acted like it was just another day. Emily saw me, smiled gently, and said, "Welcome. You're one of us now." Something had changed. I felt hollow, like some part of me had been carved out and filled with something else. I tried to leave that night. I packed what little I had, waited until the moon was high, and snuck through the trees. But halfway down the dirt road, headlights blinded me. 2 men from the fold stood in the path. Thomas said, "You're not aligned yet," one of them whispered. I ran. They didn't chase me. I made it back to my cabin. Emily was waiting inside. She looked hurt. "We were going to let you ascend," she said, voice shaking. "But now you created resistance." That night, I didn't sleep. I locked the door, moved the dresser in front of it. But sometime after midnight, I heard scratching at the window. A voice like Emily's, but not quite her, whispered, "You're not done." I stopped eating, stopped speaking. I pretended to meditate, but all I did was count the days. I knew they were watching. I saw their shadows at night, heard the humming behind the walls. Then I found it, an old journal wedged behind the cabin's fireplace. It wasn't from any of them. It was from someone before me. Her name was Elise. She wrote about arriving just like I had. She wrote about the rituals, the chants, the burning drink. And finally, about the harvest. She wrote, "They take something from you, something you don't feel missing until it's already gone. They call it the light, but it's not light, it's soul." Her final entry read, "I'm not me anymore. If someone finds this, please run." I waited until a storm hit. There was heavy rain, lightning, and the power was flickering. And I ran. I didn't use the road this time. I sprinted through the forest, tearing my skin on the branches, feet sinking into the mud. I don't know how long I ran, hours maybe, but I eventually found a highway and then a gas station. I called the police. When they arrived, I told them everything. They drove me back, but when I reached the clearing, nothing. No cabins, no fire pit, just trees and silence. It was like the fold had never existed. They told me I had a breakdown, that I imagined it. But sometimes at night, I still hear the humming. And when I close my eyes, I feel the fire. And something watching from the dark. I check the mirror every morning, just to see if it's still me looking back. But each day, I'm less sure.